Hey everyone, today we're taking a look at The Lord of the Rings, Trials of Saruman, One Ring, Hands of the White Wizard, One Ring, Hobbit Tales, and The Lord of the Rings Starter Set. Now, Overhill and Underhill. So, before we get started, Trials of Saruman and Hands of the White Wizard, while very different names, they are essentially the same overall story, following the trials of Saruman. There's 6 main parts to each campaign. The first one being designed to work with 5th edition D&D, where the One Ring is its own separate RPG system, which we've reviewed in the past. Now, those 6 parts of the campaign are the Beast of Dunland, the Sea Prince of the Shore, the Disaster of the Gladden Fields, There Let Them Lie Until the End, the Quest of Moria, and the Ithel Stone. Now, they each all kind of have different focuses and different main story arcs, different locations, things like that. Now, they both do incorporate a lot of great art, great design, definitely fits in with the overall aesthetics of Middle-earth. And, I mean, I love the production quality that Free League does with these expansions, and then just their attention to detail, the art as a whole is just utterly fantastic. Now, as we can see right off the bat, they do use some of the same art between each book. So it means, like, if you are collecting these for the art, you really only need to click one or the other, not both, to get it. But if you are playing them, obviously you would choose the one that fits the game system that you're actually going to be playing. Now, the Beast of Dunland is basically a monster hunt that also focuses on overall politics. The Sea Prince of the Shore is kind of a general intrigue, manipulation storyline. The Disaster of the Gladden Fields basically is recovering some lost or stolen relics. I can't remember which. There is There Let Them Lie Until the End is an escalation chapter, essentially, basically dealing with some Corsairs. The Quest of Moria is a dungeon survival with adding more lore. And then the Ithel Stone is basically a high-stakes mission that's tied to Mordor and the Palantir. Pretty sure I said that right. Could be wrong. But overall, it is a very strong, very rigid narrative that focuses first on kind of local, and then spreading to regional, and then up to the wide world. And it does have a kind of a corruption tracking system where you are basically tracking the decline of Saruman while he's on trial, and basically you're helping that part of the storyline. And then it is designed to kind of balance encounters with 5e stat blocks, as well as for the 5e edition, to make it easier to play with that system, where the One Ring system is its own, and does basically the same thing within that realm itself. It does rely very heavily on knowledge, locations, places. That's redundant. Heroes, characters, all that stuff, from just overall Middle-earth content. And so it does go and explain some of those bigger names to you to make it easier to understand. So that way, if there's something that you don't actually know much about, like Mordor, for example, it does give you more background of those locations and again, the people and such. So that way you have a better understanding. And overall, the idea is, you kind of are serving Saruman before he falls. is one of those kind of storylines where you kind of know it's not going to be a happy ending, especially if you've seen the movies and know anything about the character, but basically trying to help them, prove their innocence. It definitely makes for a kind of a high stakes, low effort in terms of prep work campaign that kind of feels like you're part of the actual story in the end. Now, in terms of the quality of the story, the team absolutely nailed it. We had such a great time playing that story, and we didn't actually get to the end of the story. Our party completely screwed up along the way, and we ended up dying. I believe chapter 4, maybe 5. But could be wrong there. But we didn't make it to the end, so we didn't actually get to see the result of our efforts. Now, the Hobbit Tales is basically a Shire-focused, Hobbit-centric gameplay. Essentially, it is meant to be kind of a cozy, more relaxed session when you're playing the story, or stories, because it is a collection of tales. This is only for the One Ring, not the 5e pack. So that does mean that you'd only be able to experience this within the One Ring universe. But mechanically, it's not very difficult to kind of transition using these storylines and using the 5e mechanics if you have the other books available. So it still is worth picking up, but it's meant more for a low stakes, more narrative driven, more relaxed session storyline that you're going to be doing, where you're not having to storm the castle or hunt down the evil guy. It's more local to the hobbits in the Shire, and basically kind of assisting them there. And again, it's the same quality of design, very similar drawn maps, but of course focusing on the Shire. There's a lot of very well done art in here. As well as some pre-made characters for you. Overall, production quality, the book is fantastic. Bringing more characters, more experience to the game is always a great thing. But the type of story doesn't fit a lot of what my group likes to enjoy, and so we definitely found it a little bit more on the lackluster side of things, just because of the fact that they tend to want more high stakes, high action storylines, and this doesn't have that to the same degree. Now there are some higher stakes for the hobbits themselves, but it's not always life and death with everything that you're doing. But it is another great addition to helping expand on the world itself without completely taking you out of it, and also giving those play groups a break from just the constant kind of run and gun, doom and gloom storylines. And so is definitely a great addition for anyone that enjoys the Middle-earth campaigns. Now for the starter set, it's structured as a 3-part adventure with an epilogue. It does come with dice, it comes with standees, There's, of course, the catalog. Now, we did not take the characters out. And there we go. Does not like to come out very easy, but here are the characters and monsters that you can use. We have maps. We have some character sheets as well. We have the Overhill and Underhill campaign. This insert basically is just kind of a general insert to show you what all is currently available for the game as a whole. And then, of course, our rule set itself. Now, overall, it is designed as an intro campaign for new players that have not played the actual game before, and doing it in a way that allows you to kind of ease your way into it, while still giving you that same Middle-earth flair. It is a very structured starter experience, so more established groups might not find it as enjoyable because it doesn't allow for as much freedom of action, but it does focus heavily on teaching as you play and building that understanding of the overall mechanics. It does rely on the pre-generated heroes, so you have very little in terms of customization options. The story itself is very linear, and it is a streamlined rule set, again compatible with 5e, as it says there. It focuses on the fundamentals like player roles versus the lore master responsibilities. The story's built around building the scenes, the journey, and the social encounters as well, and kind of teaching you in smaller doses each of those main aspects as you go. And so it is a much easier way of onboarding new players without overwhelming them as much. And it does have a lot of strong mechanics, specifically the shadow and journey roles. There's a clear structure for new GMs as well. So if the players are established players that are starting new characters, but the GM is just getting started, this is a great place for them to do that. And the progression systems themselves are a little minimal with the starter set, but specifically it's not really meant to be your kind of end-all be-all of the game itself. So this is a great way to start, but the core rule book is definitely gonna be something you're gonna want to get a hold of at least immediately after you play it, or at the same time, so that way you can then start building new campaigns and actually build on to what you've already done, or just use this as a complete one-shot with specific characters, and then you are coming back to them later on and doing new characters for the more loose campaign where you're not having as rigid of a structure. But overall, it tries to do something really interesting by taking 5e and reshaping it to feel like Middle-earth, but keeping the mechanics 5e centric. But the question that most people would want to know is, does this work, or is it just more of a intro box? And honestly, I think it does a great job of kind of bridging some of those gaps. But again, it is meant for either new players or new GMs or both. So you want to make sure that if you are playing this, you go into it with the right expectations. The team did a great job overall. I love the world map. I love the design of the characters. Now, just be better off if we get some actual minis to replace those, which we actually used our minis from Warhammer and stuff to fill in for our characters, which is why we didn't actually punch those out. But there's a lot of models that Games Workshop does make that would carry over to this very well, that are all from the Lord of the Rings line. So definitely worth checking out for those if you are looking to play this game and you're looking to have it, have more lore accurate models. But overall, we had a great time with this one. The Trials of Saruman, can't believe I screwed that one up, is a much better read and campaign to play. We thought it was fantastic. Thank you to Free League for sharing each of these with us. We really appreciate it, and we had a great time playing these. Again, the Hobbit Tales, we did find a little disappointing, only because it was not as high action, high stakes as our group likes, but it was still very well written, very well received. It just didn't have the pace that we wanted out of it, but we also expected that up front going into it. So it wasn't disappointing in that regard. It's just we wanted more than what we got. But that's it for this one. Thank you guys, as always, for watching. And again, thank you to Free League for sharing this with us. And we'll catch you all next time.